It's Sunday and it's time to talk some fragrances that I've been wearing this week. But today we're going to be checking out 13 fragrances that I just cannot stop smelling, I can't stop wearing, and honestly I've just been picking these bottles up and just giving it a nice sniff. I don't know, there's something a little bit comforting about just getting up and smelling your fragrances at like 3 a.m. Maybe it's just a guy thing. Maybe it's just a me thing. So stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. And actually, before I talk about fragrances, I don't know about anybody else, but I have been into watches, especially within the past year, and I love saving money, and I wanted to share this really cool watch with you guys. This one is from Addy's Dive, and if anybody's out there looking for a really awesome, high quality looking watch for about 45 bucks, this is going to be it. I ended up getting one of these for my father as well, but they look really awesome. They have this textured dial on them, and it looks very similar to a Grand Seiko. It's actually a mecha quartz movement, so it's going to be a battery operated one. It's not automatic, but it ticks 4 times per second, so it's gonna have a nice smooth sweep just like it was an automatic. So perhaps one of you out there might find this useful, so definitely check this one out. Check out the Addy's Dive. I don't even know what it's called, but I'll have a link in the description. It's not affiliated, but I just wanted to share this with y'all because it's a really cool watch and I love horology. But you know, this video is not about watches and this is not a watch channel. Who knows, maybe I'll make one in the future. We're gonna be talking about some fragrances that I can't get enough of and that I've been wearing this past week. So for Monday, I actually went with Roja Elysium. This is the Parfum version, so not the Parfum cologne version. That's the 100 ml in the blue bottle. This is this really cool looking bottle, and it's a 50 ml, but this stuff is strong. There's something so unique about this fragrance DNA, especially just the Roja Elysium DNA in general, because it's such a fresh grapefruit. You have some really earthy vetiver and some green notes in there that just make it smell absolutely high quality, and there's something a little bit more smoky and sweet about this Parfum version. Yeah, it's just a little bit darker and it lasts a little bit longer and smells a slight bit smokier. So I decided to go with this one because I wanted to feel expensive. I wanted a little bit of a mood boost for the beginning of the week, especially to start a busy Monday. And so I thought, what better fragrance to start off, you know, the week strong and going with a really long lasting, expensive niche fragrance. And that one is Roja Elysium Parfum. And in the evening, I decided to go for another really nice, sweet, smoky, fresh fragrance. And this one's actually from the house of Barrett. I'm gonna do a whole video on this house in general, but it's a brand new fragrance house that I found out about. I actually saw a couple different people talking about them, but I decided to go with the 40 Knots clone, and this one is Bowline. This basically takes the really nice, smoky, soapy agarwood and just really interesting florals that's found in the original Xerjoff 40 Knots, and it does it almost identical. In fact, I made a YouTube short basically talking about how similar the two fragrances were, and I almost want to say they put the actual juice in this bottle. So it captures that really smoky agarwood. You have some of that amber kind of darkness, and it also just has that beautiful aquatic sea salt and some of those really interesting kind of citrusy notes in there, but it captures that DNA so close. And it was just what I wanted for a nice, relaxing Monday evening, just after a long day. So that one is Bowline, and I think you can pick this one up for about $35 or $40, and you can even use the code COMMONSCENTS to save 20%. I know, it's crazy. I'm gonna do a whole video about these fragrances, but just stay tuned. Not to mention, all of their fragrances so far have lasted a good 10 to 12 hours, if not longer. They go really hard for the first 4 to 5 hours, and these are just beasts because they're extrait de parfum and they're a great deal. But if you're considering it, definitely pick this one up and check out some of their other clones, because this house is a hidden gem fragrance house, and that one is Bowline. And then Tuesday, I ended up going with a really nice freshie. It's going to be a niche fragrance, a little bit more expensive, and I talked about it in my 12 niche fragrances for the summer video that I just released. This one is Goldfield & Banks Pacific Rock Moss, and it's going to be a beautiful, fruity, oceanic fragrance that's kind of mossy, it's earthy, and it's got a little bit of a mineralic and just kind of stone accord to it. So it's a beautiful, soapy fragrance, like a lot of the fragrances on this list. I was just in a soapy, kind of citrusy mood, but this stuff is absolutely intoxicating, and I was out working outside for most of the day, and it was so incredibly hot, and this stuff just projected like crazy off of my skin. skin, and I did about probably 9 sprays or so, and it lasted me all day, and I had a beautiful, citrusy, juicy cloud of fragrance around me. This stuff is so refreshing, and you can get a whole 100 ml bottle for about 110 bucks, I want to say. So it's a really good price. It's cheaper than a lot of designer fragrances out there, and it's just some beautiful, creative, juicy juice in here. So that one is Pacific Rock Moss by Goldfield and Banks. And then in the evening, I went with another Barrett fragrance. This one is Cabo Coast. This is going to be a Creed Virgin Island water twist. So it has that beautiful lime, it's citrusy, it's a little bit salty, kind of boozy, and it almost just smells like a really expensive cocktail, almost like a pina colada. The citruses in here are so bright, they're salty, like I swear you could smell the salt lining the rim on this. It just smells very festive and very tropical. So I just imagine yourself just sitting, you know, having a nice tan on the beach. You're tossing a volleyball back and forth with your friends, and this stuff is so long lasting. It's an extrait de parfum, just like all of their fragrances are. I just picture somebody wealthy just chilling on a yacht, sipping a drink with this stuff. Really fun and relaxing stuff, and especially in this heat, it projects like crazy. And that one is Barrett Fragrances Cabo Coast. And then on the next day, for Wednesday, I went with a really nice, another sweet, citrusy coconut fragrance. This one is a new fragrance find that I got at the rack store, Vibrant Summer. I've been seeing these bottles pop up for about 20 to 25 bucks at a lot of the Burlingtons and rack stores, but oh my goodness, does this stuff smell incredible. It's a coconutty, just citrusy, beautiful blast of just fresh summer juice in a bottle. And it reminds me a lot of the Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau fragrances. So it's gonna remind me a lot of that beautiful coconutty, slightly vanillic suntan lotion vibe. But this one, it really captures that same vibe while smelling a little bit more green in the opening. And I think it kind of settles down and smells a little bit more smooth. Not quite a one-to-one for the Le Beau, but it kind of does its own thing, smells a little bit rosemary-like, so almost like a mix between this and just a tiny subtle inspiration from Acqua di Gio. So it's going to be a little bit aromatic, a little bit green and herbaceous, just a beautiful coconutty, citrusy, lemon kind of vibe in the opening, and it just lasts all day, and it made me smell amazing, especially with the heat. And so it was another hot day outside, and this stuff projected like crazy. And so that one is Tommy Vibrant Summer. And then in the evening, I went with my final Barrett fragrance. I know I talked about this house a lot, but I really wanted to just try them out on the skin because I am just obsessed with this house. And this one is Barrett Fragrances Nurture. So this one is going to be a twist on, it's called Blue Sapphire. So immediately when I smell this, I get a juicy, mouth-watering, fruity vibe. So it's almost like a cologne vibe or like a watermelon up top. So it's very crisp, and it's just juicy and perfect for this summer heat. And there's probably also some bergamot in here. I didn't really look at the fragrance notes, but that's kind of what I'm getting out of this one. You got some really nice marine notes in here. So it sort of reminds me a little bit of Orto Parisi's Megamare, but without really going 100% in that direction. It's just very similar in the opening. It's also got a little bit of an amber warmth in here, so there's also probably a little bit of a smoky vibe, just a very subtle smoky vibe, and some green accords in here. But really this stuff is perfect, and it's a nice juicy citrus with a beautiful, just kind of creamy backbone to it. And that one is Barrett Fragrances Nurture. For Thursday, I decided to go with a good old faithful fragrance. This is my just dumb reach blind grab fragrance that I can't get enough of, and this one is Montblanc Explorer. So if you've been on the hunt for a Creed Aventus style fragrance that's a designer price for about 35 to 40 bucks, this is still going to be my top recommendation. It's been love at first sniff ever since that I smelled this one in a Macy's, and you really just can't get a better compliment beast fragrance like this one, because I swear every time that I've worn it, I've had somebody compliment it. It has this magnetic attraction to it, like those around you will smell you and they're gonna ask about it because you just smell so irresistible. You also have some really fresh bergamot and some ambroxan in there, so it's going to smell a little bit green, and it's going to remind you a lot of the Creed Aventus fragrance, but I think this actually does it a lot better. It's more juicy and it's fruity, and it just has, like I said, a magnetic quality to it. It's going to uplift the people around you. It's going to boost your mood, at least it does whenever I wear it. And that one is Montblanc Explorer. In the afternoon, I actually went with a new fragrance pickup, and I haven't been able to stop smelling this one since I bought it. And this one's from Caribbean Joe. I do plan on doing a full video about this, but In short, it just smells like a beautiful twist on Azure Chrome Legend. This one is Caribbean Joe's Azure Sales, and I've been seeing these popping up a lot at the rack stores, and I'm really glad that I found this one because a while ago I picked it up, I sampled it, and I thought I don't need another $13. I'm gonna show some restraint, but man, was it a mistake spraying it on me because I couldn't stop thinking about it and I felt like I was left out. This is such a salty oceanic fragrance, and it's got a really hefty dose of sweetness, so it's almost like there's a mandarin or something in there, and it actually quite reminds me a lot of the Azure Chrome Legend because it's very salty. It's got a little bit of that tonka, and I swear there's a little bit of green tea, some of that mandarin, and some beautiful just musky ambery tones in this. It's basically that with a much more marine oceanic vibe, so you're gonna have some of those really interesting heady musky notes that really just add a nice kind of oceanic touch to it that just make it smell like salty sea air almost. So if you like Azure Chrome Legend and maybe something like Bulgari's Aqua, then you're going to love this one. And I totally forgot to mention, it is $12.99, $13 for this 4.2 ounce bottle of this relatively short lasting fragrance, but you get a ton of it and it's really good stuff while it does last. And that one is Caribbean Joe's Azure Sales. And now for Friday, we're talking about another fragrance that I talked about in my last video, but we still tried it on skin, so you know that it is up to date. This one is Milano Fragranze's Galleria. Now, I gotta say, this fragrance is one of the most artistic, just easy to wear fragrances. It smells expensive, it's chic, and it's also very refreshing. This has a beautiful soft suede leather to it, so it's gonna have a beautiful soft leather touch to it, and it also has some iris, some orris, so it's gonna smell a little bit buttery, a little bit waxy, and it also has some really nice kind of salty notes in here. The interesting thing about the iris and the orris in here is that it smells almost like wet paper, so it's gonna be a salty paper. It's got some green tones to it, it's a little bit earthy, and it almost has a petrichor vibe, so it smells like freshly rained outside mixed with a little bit of a paper quality. So it's really, really interesting, and it just smells like an expensive picture painting almost, if that makes sense. It's totally random, but that's just kind of what I get when I think about this. And it's got the most subtle sweetness from a little bit of a mixed berry accord, so you're gonna have a little bit of a fruity vibe. So it's gonna be a slightly creamy wood, kind of wet paper accord mixed with that beautiful soft leather and a slight touch of sweetness from the fruit in here. And that one is Milano Fragranze's Galleria. And then in the afternoon, I tested out a fragrance that I was so excited to try, and this is a brand new flanker from the house of Initio. This one is Oud for Greatness Neo. I saw the notes online and I saw Aromatics' quick review of this stuff, and I saw it for a really good price for about 225 bucks, and I decided to pick it up and do a really expensive blind buy. So I do not recommend spending more than like 200 bucks on a blind buy. In fact, I don't really recommend spending over 100. But this was such a new fragrance, I figured that if I didn't like it, I could probably sell it used, missing 1 or 2 sprays for roughly around the price that I bought it, if not a little more, because it was still a good deal. But no way in heck am I getting rid of this fragrance. This one basically takes the original beautiful, smoky, slightly animalistic agarwood from the original Oud for Greatness, and it adds a beautiful silkiness. It's a little bit more citrusy, and it adds some musks to it. So it still has that beautiful agarwood, spice, and saffron in it, but this one also has some lavender, some bergamot, and some musks in it. So I can't stress how much I love this fragrance, and it's one of my favorite blind buys of this entire year because it's still a little bit herbal. It's spicy from the lavender and the saffron and the oud, but it's not overdone because you can absolutely wear this in the summer, and I wore it when it was super hot outside. It has a beautiful fruity and just creamy quality to it. So it basically takes the original DNA, updates it, and makes it smell a little bit softer and a little bit more uplifting, especially for this, you know, kind of higher heat. And so that one is beautiful, and I can't wait to do a full review on that. Really pleasant stuff from the house of Initio, and that one is Initio Oud for Greatness Neo. So yesterday on Saturday morning, I just had a lazy morning and I didn't do a thing. And you know, sometimes you just need one of those days where you have a reset, you don't do anything, you just watch some TV, play some video games, you know, give yourself some self-care, you know? And so I wanted to go with a really easy to wear, just nice relaxing fragrance, and I went with Maison Alhambra's Zafiro Crafted Oud. And I actually saw TLTG reviews talk about this one. I saw Ross talking about it, and this is such a beautiful musky and silky oud that they use in this. So it's not going to be a real fecal oud. It's going to be a very delicate, kind of salty, woody oud, similar to that in Tom Ford Oud Wood. In fact, the original fragrance that this is trying to copy, which was Tamin's Carved Oud, this one is Crafted Oud, and they smell very, very similar. Almost dropped the cap. Just that really wet, silky, smooth, salty agar wood that's found in the Tom Ford Oud Wood and also the Carved Oud. So just a beautiful, silky, white, regal smelling oud with a nice kind of creamy touch to it with a bit of saltiness. Yeah, I really couldn't think of a better fragrance to just relax yourself and just put you at ease, especially for the weekend. And that one is Zafiro's Crafted Oud. So last night and this morning, I decided to wear this fragrance. This one is a new pickup that I got. This is from Kamara Perfumes. This one is Contra Men Only Intense, and it's such a cheesy name, but I ended up getting this one for $14.99, and I'm gonna do another review on this one, so you'll get a more in-depth one, but I just could not stop smelling this on my skin, and I loved it so much last night that I put it on my skin again this morning. Where do I begin with this fragrance? It smells so expensive, and it's one of the most high-quality smelling fragrances that I've got from the house of Kamara Perfumes, and they just make some amazing stuff, especially for 15 bucks. The atomizer is pressurized, and it just has a beautiful puff and a blast of fragrance. You guys, this is the perfect date night fragrance. When I smell this, I immediately get some iris. You also have some beautiful boozy vanillas. You have some tonka bean, and it's a little bit cinnamon-like. It's a little bit sweet and nutty, and it just smells like a beautiful fall fragrance that you really can pull off even in the summer evenings. So summer date nights, this is still good for that. There's also like a little bit of benzoin I'm picking up in this and some Tolu balsam. So this is going to be a twist on Givenchy's Gentleman Eau de Parfum. So the all black bottle, and it smells very similar to that. And also like it takes inspiration from Dior Homme Intense. So that beautiful powdery iris, but also with some of that beautiful vanilla kind of boozy vibes from that Gentleman Eau de Parfum, and maybe even something from like a Prada Luna Rosa Black. And that one is Contra Men Only Intense. Men only, it's a man's club, no women here. This afternoon, I decided to go with a new fragrance pickup that I got, and this one is Franck Boclet's Woodstock. So there's so many incredible things going on in this fragrance. It's smooth, it's expensive smelling, and it just reminds you of a good, nostalgic, fun time. This has a beautiful syrupy sweetness combined with some nice dried fruit accords, and you also have a healthy dose of vanilla and some lactonic notes. So it's almost a little bit nutty, but it just smells like a really fun dried fruit and almost like an apricot or some osmanthus. So I believe the osmanthus is that really nice syrupy, jammy, citrusy floral. It's kind of funny because I expected Woodstock to have a little bit more patchouli and maybe some more herbal notes, but I love this stuff, and it reminds me of a lot of just classic concerts and kind of music venues for some reason. Maybe it's probably the font and the box that they actually threw in. I mean, this looks like an amp cabinet case. In fact, that's exactly what they were going for. They were going for that early Americana music scene, especially with the imagery and the naming of this fragrance. And so Woodstock, it's just a beautiful, fruity, creamy, lactonic fragrance with a beautiful, just caramel syrupy sweetness that I just cannot get enough of. In fact, I'm gonna put some on right now. Excellent stuff. And that one is Franck Boclet's Woodstock. So there you have it, 13 fragrances that I couldn't stop sniffing. I couldn't stop wearing them. They're just really high quality fragrances, and they're definitely rotation worthy, just like a lot of them on these lists. So as always, let me know down in the comments what you've been wearing. I'd love to hear about any new fragrance pickups, or if you have anything on the way. So let me know down in the comments, and I'd love to chat about it. Stay safe out there, everyone. I know you can do it this week, and you're gonna do some amazing things this week. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Eli with Common Sense. Until the next time, bye-bye. Come on, come on. Focus. Focus, damn it. My teacher is my entire educational career.